Hi everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to talk about the 1984 film Dreamscape. You can see the poster right there. And if you look closely at the poster up close, it's very similar to the poster for Raiders of the Lost Ark from a few years before. But if you went into this movie expecting an Indiana Jones movie, you would probably be disappointed. Although Kate Capshaw is in this movie, interestingly enough. Of course, she was in Temple of Doom, which came out that same summer of 1984. But Dreamscape is really one of those movies that blends a lot of genres together, where there's science fiction, there's some horror, there's action scenes, there's political thriller. So you get a little bit of everything, which I like that. I like that when the film does that, and Dreamscape does it reasonably well, I would say. The film stars Dennis Quaid as a psychic, a man with psychic abilities who is kind of forced against his will to take part in this government study, a sleep study of dreams. Okay, it's this clinic where they try to help people who are being troubled by nightmares that are causing them to have neuroses and things like that. And it has a good cast. Max von Sydow plays the lead scientist at the clinic. Kate Capshaw, as I mentioned, plays a scientist. There's George Wendt during his run of Cheers, plays a writer who is investigating the goings on at the clinic. There's David Patrick Kelly, who is one of the other patients at the clinic. There's Christopher Plummer, who plays a government official. So it has a really good cast. And I should say the film was directed by Joseph Rubin, who would go on to direct some pretty good movies through the 90s, 80s, and 90s. And so Dennis Quaid is there, and like for example, there's a little boy at the clinic who is having nightmares, and this kid is like really traumatized by these dreams he's having about a monster. And basically, Dennis Quaid, they kind of meld the minds, I guess, through technology, and Dennis Quaid can go into the kid's dream and help the kid fight off the monster so the kid can get over his fear of the monster. And it's a snake monster who actually plays a much bigger role in the movie. So that's what they're doing. And meanwhile, you have this political subplot, Cold War subplot of the President of the United States, who's played by Eddie Alberts, character actor, and he's having nightmares about starting a nuclear war. And that's actually how the film starts out, where, just horrific imagery of mushroom clouds and cities exploding and all that. And the president is really getting freaked out by all this. And he thinks by having these dreams that he is supposed to make peace with the Russians and, get rid of nuclear arsenals and really pursue that. So like I said, mid 80s, the Cold War is very much part of pop culture, and Cold War anxiety, I should say, is very much part of pop culture, and that's in the story as well. And then Christopher Plummer, who plays a government official who I guess from an intelligence agency, and he of course does not want the president to do this, and that connects them with what he's interested what this sleep study is doing, where I mentioned David Patrick Kelly, where he can go into people's dreams and do bad things, okay? And of course, the intelligence agencies are thinking about spying on people, going into their dreams, or even doing something, even worse things to people, especially to adversaries while they're dreaming. So that's the political side of it. And Dennis Quaid gets wind of this, and he, is trying to has to figure out what to do. This Dreamscape is very much part of a large group of movies at this time that were dealing with psychic abilities and telepathic abilities, like Brainstorm or Altered States, The Dead Zone. There's The Fury, the Brian De Palma film, and many more I'm not mentioning that all get into this. Also, Nightmare on Elm Street is came out that same year in 1984, which is takes a much more of a horror movie approach to invading people in their dreams. So, and there's even one scene where someone wakes up and they're traumatized, by actually there's actually physical evidence of what happened to them in the dream. So very much similar to what Wes Craven was doing with Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, and also Inception, a movie about infiltrating people's dreams, and that the Christopher Nolan film, of course, which is more about corporate espionage and that. So yeah, Dreamscape has it's so much of blending together of what other movies were doing or would be doing later, such as Inception. So, which I think makes it an interesting movie. It does get more action based towards the end, and kind of predictable, I would say, as we get to the end of the film. But the dream sequences are really well done. The lighting and the special effects and the music, the really effective dream sequences, I would say, is really one of the big strengths of the film. And the film does end on a somewhat ambiguous note, where that question of, am I in the dream world? Am I in the real world? Nightmare on Elm Street does that, and Inception does that too. So, yeah, I guess all movies about dreams have that in common, right? Is it how can you tell what's real and what's not real? So that's cool. Yeah, so I guess those are pretty much my thoughts on Dreamscape. It is playing on Tubi right now, so if you want to watch it for free, it's available. And like I said, if you like movies of this sort that kind of blend genres and has a really 1980s vibe to it, I would recommend Dreamscape. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.